You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on NGSCSports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
It's Craig. So mine was like, I've got Callie for a few days, and we just ran around like crazy all day because this kid's nuts. Obviously gets it from her mother, not from me. So, like, everything's cool. We're just running around doing a bunch of crap. Come home and finally get relaxed. And she starts throwing a fit that she wants this backpack that we saw at the mall. That's right, because we went to the mall.
Okay.
So I'm like, no, blah, blah, blah. And my mom is like, oh, take her back and get it for her, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, shit. Fine. So we go back to the mall. Well, apparently everything closes at 7 at the mall now because of COVID. Because, you know, I think after 7, it becomes more contagious, apparently.
Sure.
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 So we get there like 10 after 7, so everything's closed. Son of a bitch. So we don't get the backpack, so she's already whining about that. We go back to the truck, and my truck would not start. And I tried, and I tried, and I tried. I don't know what the hell's wrong. I mean, that thing's been running just perfectly. No signs of anything going out. Everything's running fine, and it won't start. So, as we speak, it is sitting in the parking lot at Golden East Mall waiting to get towed at 8 a.m. So, I was out there for like 2 hours. I had a butt on the smoker that I wanted to pull up at 8 o'clock. I didn't get home until after 9 o'clock. So, my butt wasn't perfect like I wanted it. Then we didn't eat dinner till like 9:45. Ugh, Jesus. And Callie's going nuts messing with the dogs tonight. She had too much sun drop at supper. So I finally got her on Disney Plus in the living room.
Nice.
And I finally snuck away to do this. I'm freaking tired. I just want to go lay down soon. So.
All right. Well, here.
Let's recap. The importance happens is the last time, right?
Yeah. This was supposed to be a happy podcast.
Nothing in my life has happened, has it? No.
I was also going to ask because I can kind of throw out a lot of what we were going to do tonight. Also, if you have to get, I don't know, do you have to get up early in the morning?
Not per se. I think we're going to go to the beach tomorrow morning, but
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a solid hour here. We're good.
Okay.
I'm just complaining more than anything. I'll be fine.
That's fine. I knew because we're already getting started here at 11. So if you had to be up at like 4 or 5, I didn't want to go too late. Okay.
Nothing like that.
All right.
No, we're cool.
Well, I'll still cut a few stories, but we'll just and we
guess what? We're not gonna do so raw. Hope that doesn't spoil anything for you.
What? Oh no! Spoiler alert for this edition of the Foreign Affair Podcast. Oh no, there's no spoiler. Oh god, no! Well, everybody, welcome to the Foreign Affair Podcast, episode 321.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1, go.
There you go. That's literally the episode number. My name is Edward Green. I am joined by my Colin Crime West Bradshaw. We're gonna still have a great episode today, everybody, because we gotta do some celebrating. We gotta get your poppers, which I of course don't have, because America. But hey,
your World Cup 2010 vuvuzelas.
Yes. And we'll do some celebrating. So that's that. We're gonna talk about that. We'll hit a few news and notes. I'm still gonna cut a few of these stories. I mean, some of these stories are kind of dumb, but we'll talk about a few of them. And we'll wrap up with a little bit of the Watch 4. So as always, podcast presented by NGSC Sports at NGSCSports.com. We never stop. And hey, the Patriots didn't stop signing players over the last couple days, so
nope.
Get on He's your problem now, New England.
Cameron. My favorite thing is Cam had to produce his own tribute video for being a Panther. That's so wrong, but I can't,
That's fine.
I don't know who to blame for that.
True. That's true. Everybody could use some blame. So what we're gonna do is, so normally we would, talk about the week that was in the Premier League, and there's been so many matches in the Premier League.
So many.
There's been some crazy ups and downs. Lord only knows what's going on with Chelsea anymore. I mean, we'll obviously talk a little bit in passing about their match against Manchester City, where they win 2-1, and then they come out and lose 3-2 to West Ham, who are fighting a relegation battle, and it's like, what the hell? Bournemouth look like they're just ready to fucking get this over with and die. What else? I mean, everything else is kind of whatever. Arsenal obviously listened to this podcast and used it as fuel to have a perfect week going forward. I do want to talk about two real quick things, and then we'll obviously get to the very big thing. One on, I guess, to a good note, even though I don't want to give them props, but we kind of have to. They forced our hand. Manchester United quietly starting to look like a football club again. Quietly or not so quietly, depending on how you feel about them. They came off, we talked about it last week, a 3-0 drubbing of Sheffield United, Anthony Martial having that hat trick. Well, they just keep scoring goals because this past Tuesday, they beat Brighton and Hove 3-0 as well. Bruno Fernandes with a brace in his game, and Mason Greenwood with an absolutely cracking goal to start it off. Wes, there's Pogba's happy again for the moment. And dare I say that him linking up with Bruno Fernandes is starting to pay some dividends. The big question is, and this is where I'll turn it over to you, is with all things Pogba, how long does this actually last?
Well, I mean, that's always the caveat when you bring in Paul Labille Pogba into the discussion. At the moment, he's happy. Bruno Fernandes is doing the things that Pogba didn't want to do, that they were asking him to do. So now Pogba's able to just do Pogba things. The only downside for him is, hairstylists and everything right now. But other than that, I mean, this is more what they were looking for. The thing in ESPN FC and Liverpool legend Stevie Nicol has said about Pogba, the way he puts it is, Pogba is a guy who comes in and makes a good team great. Mm-hmm. Where Bruno Fernandes looks like he's the guy who comes in and takes a good team and takes a team who's not that good and can help make them great. Okay. Pogba has turned in, even though he's got a skill set that can do so much more, but he's turned into kind of like a luxury player. Yeah. Where if you don't have the guys around him that'll carry the water, you're gonna drown with Pogba. Mm-hmm. But you got Bruno Fernandes, and they're rotating some guys at their defensive midfield position, and it seems to be working right now. And the forwards are scoring. It's looking really dangerous up front. And with those two guys behind, basically United's playing almost like a front five right now when you throw in Bruno and Pogba. And it's they're tough, man. They're really tough to stop right now. I believe they're 15 matches unbeaten at this point. It's turned to a good run, and luckily for United, they're doing it at the right time. And, if it's going to come down basically right now to Chelsea and Leicester, are they going to slip up? And of course, that's with the other caveat of what's going to happen with City in the Champions League. But right now, the way United are playing, I mean, they're definitely a favorite to slip in and get one of those Champions League spots.
They've started to sort of distanced themselves from the sort of mid-table tier and have, along with some teams, firmly putting themselves there and have really started to solidify a place. But one other team you mentioned, Wes, that is giving them the opening of the door is Leicester City. They have not come out of the gates very well here since Project Restart happened. Just not having found their footing yet. Today, they take a loss to Everton, and that's not so like, oh, haha, lol, Everton.
Always bad, no matter what.
Fair enough. But Everton is playing a little better football since Ancelotti took over, even when he can't remember certain people on his team. But hey, it's true. They get a big 2-1 win today. He made some smart substitutions later in the game when Leicester looked to make a comeback into it. But Leicester have just kind of fallen off here, and this was supposed to be kind of like the resurgence of Leicester. And now, as we look at the table, they're just 1 point up on Chelsea and 3 points up on United, along with Wolves. So there is now, even if fifth place becomes that or stays that Champions League spot, because technically it is, because technically City have already been banned from the Champions League. They'd have to win their appeal to get back into it.
As of the moment, it's a Champions League spot.
Yeah. I mean, they are in danger now of falling out because they could be passed by all three of Chelsea, United, and Wolves. And that would just be absolutely heartbreaking for this club, which, you know, has been kind of almost yo-yoing up and down the table since they've been come back into the Premier League, from the highs of winning the league to the lows of being sort of mid to bottom table. And, you know, here, third place, they're looking great. Even as late as November, early December, we were like, man, could this team really challenge Liverpool and City? They look really good. And then they had like back-to-back matches against those clubs in December and just got pounded.
Yeah, and Liverpool kind of took care of that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Leicester in free fall. Do you see Leicester finishing outside of a Champions League spot, which we'll say right now they finish outside the top 5, or do you think the Barrage rights the ship and they close out these 6 matches in style and hang on for dear life?
I'm going to say they hang on for dear life, but just barely. I mean, that's been really – they've been the disappointing squad, I would say, since Project Restart. And they're probably the squad – them and Sheffield United, the two squads I would say have been, you know, judging by these early results, have been hurt the most by the stoppage in play, because both were playing some really good football at the time that everything got shut down. And now they're coming back, and they're both playing like absolute vomit right now. And it's tough trying to find your way back into this. And now you've sat there for a couple months with the chance for the pressure to just kind of build and build and build. And how are they going to handle it at the end of the day? And right now, they're not handling it well at all. And they're finding themselves in a tough spot right now, especially with the way United's playing. Chelsea kind of up until today. Was it today or yesterday Chelsea lost? Today. Yeah, I mean, Chelsea's been playing really well. And, I mean, Leicester to lose 2-1 to Everton, that's a tough pill to swallow at this point. But, you know, the thing is, with these matches coming thick and fast, I mean, they turn right around on Saturday. They've got a Palace team that is not playing well right now either. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens. But definitely a nervy time for Leicester City.
And just real quick, to go through the rest of that schedule, they're at home for Palace. Then they go to Arsenal, they go to Bournemouth, and that could be a Bournemouth team that at that point maybe they've gone mental boom. I mean, maybe, but at that point they might still be fighting for their Premier League lives, and that's not going to be easy if they do manage to switch their brains back on. Then they have Sheffield at home, which you mentioned, another team that's been struggling to come back. And then they end the season at Tottenham and at home with Manchester United. Like, this is not a fun run-in, I feel, for the Foxes.
That last match day could be winner take all for that one.
I know Arlo White would not love it, but man, that would be awesome. So yeah, that's the upcoming schedule for Leicester, and there's a lot going on there. But obviously, we've put this off long enough without even kicking a ball since last we spoke. Liverpool have become once again the champions of England. They managed to do it. They were so good they managed to do it without even playing since we last spoke. And it all came on Thursday. That Chelsea team that had been looking so good until today, again, beat Manchester City 2-1. Willian with the penalty late on to cancel Kevin De Bruyne's equalizer, which, that De Bruyne equalizer was something special. But again, Chelsea coming back to end a team's title run. Not that it was very close at the Bridge. No punches thrown this time, thankfully. But again, the importance is because City dropped points, Liverpool can now not be caught and have won their first Premier League title and their first top flight title in 30 years. Still plenty to play for in terms of the Premier League. With 7 matches to go, there's 21 points sitting out there. 14 gets them to 100. So the max is, they can max out at 107, which would be, I don't want to say it because we thought 100 would be insurmountable at one point. But you almost have to feel at some point 107 would be insurmountable, I guess. But obviously, Wes, I will just now turn over to you because you are the man of the hour here. So, yay, vuvuzelas for all!
Good job, boys. Good job. How do you read?
Oh, thanks.
No. Unfortunately, just for our recording scheduling, I've had a very big cooling off period since
That's true.
everything happened, since I broke down in tears on Thursday evening at work.
Well, I mean, there must have been like slightly, I don't want to say awkward, but it must have been, instead of Liverpool going out there and winning it, not that they hadn't been doing that for the last 31 matches, but seeing another team be on the field when it happens had to have been at least a little bit weird.
Oh, well, not only that, just my personal story of this. I was at work, so I didn't have it on. And I had one of the newspapers or one of the English papers up that was doing like their live coverage of the match. And literally the match had been over for like 20 minutes before I was able to look up and be like, oh wow, Chelsea won. Oh God, we're champions. And then immediately we got busy again. So it took like 2 hours before I was ever able to like celebrate it. And God, it was a weird work day. And but it was, and then also with the whole COVID thing and with the anticipation, with having the huge lead, it was always a matter of when, not if. And like you say, you didn't get that. We didn't get that chance to go out and, hey, just win this match and you got it. And we win the match and we're able to go crazy on the field. It was a surreal moment, to say the least. I think really at this point, it's more about waiting for Jordan Henderson to lift the trophy.
Right.
I think that's when it's really going to kick in that this is like super real. I mean, the shirts are available. I might have one ordered already. But, with their clinching of the title, Liverpool have basically shattered all the championship winning records. Earliest, well, it's weird. They're the earliest and latest team to ever win. Earliest by number of matches, latest obviously by date. Right now, so many records in reach. As you said, could potentially shatter the points record, could break the wins record, could set the record for largest margin of a championship victory season. Just so many things out there for Liverpool to still do. And, I don't, and Klopp's kind of come out and said it. I mean, at this point, why should Liverpool take their foot off the gas?
Yeah, absolutely.
They're out of Europe. They're out of the FA Cup.
Mm-hmm.
This has already been the weirdest season ever. So, I mean, it's not like, usually this time of the year, guys are running on fumes. Well, no, they've all had 3 months off. And now it's about getting guys back in match shape. Certainly not having to rotate to rest because guys are falling like flies. So Liverpool are kind of in this unique situation where they can go out and just go balls to the wall.
Yeah.
A little bit injury.
It's actually really weird.
Oh, good.
I was just going to say real quick. It's actually kind of weird. Liverpool are the team that, even though they've already clinched the league, they still have a ton to play for and trying to set this massive points total. And meanwhile, the team they're playing tomorrow, as well as the team that's going to finish second in City, they almost have very little to play for going forward and should be resting people because they actually still have the Champions League in August to worry about.
And the FA Cup.
Yes, exactly.
So, I mean, City still have something to play for. It's just not what we have to play for. That said, City are going to be super motivated in that Liverpool match just because it is their chance to at least throw that little wrench in where, you might have done it, but, we beat you. So,
well, whenever you have to have a notification pop up on your phone that confirms Pep's going to have an honor guard for Liverpool on Thursday, something that every other year we've just been like, yeah, it's going to happen. It's like, no, we have to confirm it. Pep is going to do it.
Well, with Pep,
Yeah.
I mean, this is Pep who's not used to not winning the league. So
Fair enough.
I mean, really. Excuse me. So this is Pep's 4th season in the Premier League. He's won 2, so now he's 2-2 when it comes to winning league titles. Yeah. He won it every year he was in Germany. I want to say he won it all but maybe 1 year at Barcelona.
I can check on that real quick.
So, I mean, this is a guy who he's not, he doesn't really know what to do in these kind of situations. It's really weird. So, for Pep, it's like, how do we do this code of honor? Someone show me a video. So I usually walk through these things. How do we line up? How will we properly socially distance? Because, it's not like you're then going to turn around and play in 5 minutes. But,
So let's see. He won. I can't really quickly figure out when he started. Let's see. He started. So he started in Barcelona.
2009, 2000.
Yeah, he started in Barcelona July of 2008. He won the league the 08-09 season, 09-10 season, and then the 10-11 season. So I don't think he won his last La Liga season because he left the club in June of 2012. So he did not win his last La Liga season. So he won 3 out of 4 La Ligas, every Bundesliga, and then he's won 2 out of 4. So yeah, this is only the 3rd year he hasn't won the league as a head coach.
I mean, so it's not so much. It's funny, but it's not also such a joke to be like, I mean, there is a good chance, schedule-wise, that Pep Guardiola has never lined up a team in a guard of honor.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a damn fine chance he's never done this before. It's just like, so I guess with Pep, it's like, well, let's just make sure he understands that he's supposed to do this. And 2, it's not
that he's this enough. You can do it.
He's not required to do it. Let's not forget that part. This isn't a requirement. I mean, this is at the behest of the, this is the chasing club showing respect to the champion.
Right.
This is not like the Premier League's like, oh, you have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't like the moment of silence on, Remembrance Day or anything like that. I mean, this is, we're showing our respect to this team. My favorite part of it is that Joe Gomez gets to walk past Raheem Sterling. Raz. I love it. That's my favorite part of this whole thing. Anyway, City can sign Philippe Coutinho for a day. Line him up, Phil. Just such a tiny little just jab to the ribs for Coutinho. He made this big deal wanting to leave Liverpool so he could chase the biggest of trophies. And since he's left, Liverpool have won Europe and the league. So.
Oh man.
It's like, hey, and the World Club Cup. So basically, we've been European, world, and now English champions. And Coutinho's over there like, oh shit, I'm on like the shittiest Barcelona team in 20 years.
Quietly very bad.
Yeah, and they can't even get a game for them. So they're just like, just go the hell away. They want to get rid of Coutinho like nobody's business. That's its own story, though. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's a very fitting championship from a Liverpool team who has led wire to wire. They came out with the longest, streak to open the season with wins, unbeaten. Just an incredible run. They've had two of the longest unbeaten streaks in league history this year. It's been an insane ride, and then the whole COVID thing coming up, and it was almost one of those, what can the universe conspire to keep Liverpool from getting this title? But at the end of the day, I mean, it was like trying to hold back the ocean. Jurgen, Arsene Wenger can have his invincibles. Jurgen has his inevitables. Snap.
Thanos.
Dag, all right. Yes, Jurgen Thanos Klopp. It's like he just keeps coming.
Oh.
And he's just trying to set the balance back.
Someone go Photoshop Klopp's skin as purple.
Yeah, just trying to set the perfect balance. Boom.
That's a little too German for my taste.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I wasn't even thinking that. Beautiful, beautiful comeback. We're editing this out, right? Edit. Shit. In this week, West. No, don't even say it, West. Don't even say what you're doing.
It's fine. As all
murder sticks, huh?
Rick Fox got raped. What?
Rick Fox got raped. What?
Well. In all seriousness, congratulations. This is one of the biggest accomplishments for Jurgen Klopp. Obviously, he's won the Champions League. He fought hard in Germany, and now he's conquered. Maybe, I still think, the toughest league in Europe to win.
I think it's the toughest league to win just because there's so much money at the top.
Yeah,
and those teams at the top are so firmly entrenched.
Mm-hmm. So we do have some teams that might be fighting to try to unseat at least some of those teams at the top. They will not be in action tomorrow, Thursday, as that starts your next slate of matches. Still plenty matches. 1 p.m. it's Sheffield versus Tottenham. I think Tanguy and Ndombele might be starting, because we gotta get his value up. 3:15 is that match between City and Liverpool. That will obviously, as we talked about, that will be still a very, I'm sure, hard-fought match, as they seem to always be between those two clubs. Always a lot of fun when those two have been hooking up the last couple of years. Then we take a break till Saturday. 7:30 is Norwich and Brighton. 10 a.m. Leicester versus Palace, as well as Manchester United versus Bournemouth. 12:30 Wolves versus Arsenal. That's going to be a hell of a match. Wolves looking for a big 3 points there to keep their Champions League hopes alive. And then Chelsea, 3 p.m., look to rebound against Watford. On Sunday, 7 a.m., Burnley versus Sheffield. 9 a.m., Newcastle versus West Ham. 11:30 a.m., Liverpool returns to the pitch to take on Aston Villa. Then at 2 p.m., Southampton hosts Man City. On Monday, Tottenham and Everton play. That always is last couple years, that's been a very fun little match that produces some very weird results. So that'll be at 3 p.m. on that Monday. And then at Tuesday, 1 p.m., Palace Chelsea along with Watford Norwich in a relegation scrape. And then 3:15 Arsenal Leicester. Then finally on Wednesday, 1 p.m. is City versus Newcastle United. 1 p.m. as well, West Ham Burnley and Sheffield Wolves. 3:15 Brighton and Hove hosting the champions of Liverpool. So that is your schedule for the week ahead. One more look at the table here. Liverpool are champions. City are well ahead of Leicester. Leicester again in third place, 1 point ahead of Chelsea, 3 points ahead of United and Wolves. Those are 4 teams for what will most likely be 3 Champions League spots. Big time there. And then another little group of Arsenal, Tottenham, Burnley, Sheffield, and Everton, all within a point or 2 of each other, fighting for those Europa spots. Oh boy. At the bottom of your heart, the relegation zone, West Ham, with their massive win against Chelsea, are now at 30 points. They are in 16th place. Watford are in 17th with 28. Villa and Bournemouth are at 27. Norwich at 21. Norwich, we knew, but it's getting to be very close to being mathematically impossible for them to get out. Villa and Bournemouth still on life support, but they can get out, but they need points soon. The FA Cup happened this past weekend.
FA Cup of dreams.
Yes. I believe I read a thing though, like basically only 6 clubs have won the FA Cup in like the last 20 years. So
and one of those is Wigan.
Yes. And Wigan. Don't forget Wigan. Yeah, so the results from this weekend, Manchester United did play a scrappy match, I guess, against Norwich. They win 2-1 in add extra time thanks to a last-minute goal from Harry Maguire. Arsenal gets past Sheffield 2-1. Late goal in that one from Dani Ceballos. Chelsea beats Leicester 1-0. Ross Barkley, the match winner there in the 63rd minute. And finally, City cruised past Newcastle 2-0 thanks to a penalty from Kevin De Bruyne and a goal from Raza in the 68th minute. So that brings us to our semifinals of Arsenal versus City and United versus Chelsea. As much as we've been joking, these are actually some pretty sexy ties here in the semifinals. I guess as sexy as you can get when Arsenal's involved. So, Wes, these will take place.
And Arsenal doesn't have his puppy jacket.
These will be taking place on July 18th for Arsenal City, and then the 19th of July for United versus Chelsea. Any predictions or thoughts for that semifinal? The semifinal matchups?
I believe we're going to have a Manchester Derby final.
Ooh. I think that could be pretty likely. I think that United Chelsea game is actually going to be really good.
I do too. God, and I hate it because I want either of those two to win it. I can, out of all these, I guess if I had to quote pull for someone out of this group, at this point it would be Chelsea. Just because God, it's kind of like the less of all the evils.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I guess I'll pull for Chelsea, but I don't know, man. The way United are playing right now, I'm nervous for that one. I really don't want United to win it. Any of the other 3 would be acceptable. God, I don't want United to win it. That's hard hitting down the middle journalism from the Foreign Affair podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody we have an agenda.
Never have we ever had an agenda. Yeah. So that's our match talk for the week. There was an article about how Saudi Arabia, I just like this headline. Saudi Arabia claims they've seen, quote, no evidence, end quote, of pirate broadcasts, saying complaints weren't sent to the right email address. Okay. Sure. Okay. Whatever you say, guy. Okay. That's fine.
You see it? There was, they mixed up the 9 and the 5.
Of course. Simple mistakes like that.
It was Saudi Prince 59 at Gmail, not Saudi Prince 95 at Gmail. What a silly goose!
How could we be so stupid?
Goose was killed in
This is actually kind of a big story, though, and obviously for Wes, as the team is composed right now, this is a pretty big one. The AFCON, African Cup of Nations, has been postponed until January 2022. It had moved into the winter, which was going to be big consternation for Liverpool with the amount of players who generally participate in AFCON every time it comes around here.
But
But
yeah,
this
we have
time
a
it will
couple
be.
you might have heard of.
They're not important players by any means, but they have a lot of them on there. No. So this is going to be now moving ahead a full year. So Liverpool have and other teams that will be affected by this, obviously, do have some more time to prepare, time to bring in some reinforcements. And so, as terrible as again this is, because this is related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Hey, it's a brief reprieve for you, Wes. If football's even being played at that point, none of your players will have to go to the AFCON.
Yeah, maybe we'll bring in some other guys by then. We'll see. Maybe we'll sign a player by then.
Maybe. Here's hoping. Us too. So here's a big story that is basically a confirmation of a story that we've known about for a very long time, but it's finally in the books. Came through yesterday. Bayern have finally agreed to the £54.8 million fee with Manchester City for the services of Leroy Sané going forward. He's getting a 5-year deal from Bayern. This is from Sky Sports News. So Wes, obviously this is somebody who had been a fairly important part of some of Pep's teams at City. Seemed to have fallen out of favor, though. Had his eyes attracted back to Germany, where his nationality resides. And so the opportunity to go back to them, obviously, very strong. And it's not the messiest of divorces, but this doesn't seem to be a very clean break, but it is now at least officially at an end for that.
For City, you can look at two key injuries that really somewhat tanked this season for Man City. One was Emerick Laporte, and the other was Leroy Sané. They lost those two players, and while yes, City is a fabulously talented, deep squad, those two guys in particular gave them something that nobody else could. With Laporte, it was solidity at the back, and with Sané, it was pure, just breathtaking pace down the side. And they really missed that this year. They really did. So, Sané played a really big role in back-to-back Premier League winning squads. And his lack of presence was definitely felt this season. Also for City, where this sucks for them, they paid right around that £50 million mark for Sané to start with. And here's a guy who I believe he's 22, 23 years old. He's shown what a fabulous player he is. They should have been getting 80, 90 million for this guy. And instead they basically get less than 10 million more than what they paid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the greatest of business for City. Getting the guy gone because he wanted gone. At the end of the day, that was the biggest thing. And they didn't lose money on it, but you would have figured 2 years ago if we had come across and said, hey, Leroy Sané is going to Bayern Munich at the age of, 23 from Manchester City, you'd be like, oh, God, they're going to get $100 million for him. And just circumstances combined with COVID and everything, I think just really tanked that whole move. And, for City, it's kind of like, all right, whatever, turn the page. But they definitely did not come out on top, I think, as much as they felt they would have normally or should have with this deal.
No, it certainly wouldn't. I mean, who knows what he'll eventually go for, but I'm seeing this notification from Bleacher Report about Manchester United not wanting to pay over £50 million for Jadon Sancho. And now, obviously, Sané has proven over a longer period of time at his ability, as well as Jadon Sancho is still more of a very good prospect, is still very young. I mean, to be paying basically the same amount as that kind of strikes me as weird.
Well, and of course, Jadon Sancho, that whole thing as well as the British premium for Sancho.
True. And then I think somebody was like, Nicolas Pepe went for about 120 million. And you're like, well, guess those days are over for the time being.
Don't forget, we got almost 150 for Coutinho.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, good one.
Those were the days. So there you go. That's that big transfer news. We can also talk about the Athletic. I have a couple stories, but Wes, I'll give you first crack if you have anything from the Athletic that you'd like to pimp out here.
Well, if you're a Liverpool fan, which, spoiler alert, I am. There has been so many big time stories in the last week about Liverpool. One from earlier today, understanding Jurgen Klopp, which, God, who can understand Jurgen Klopp? There's a really good one on Michael Edwards. Excuse me, a really, really good one, The Making of Jordan Henderson, which was super good. How to Liverpool ensure this is not a one-off. An exclusive with Tom Werner. Of course, one of the owners of the Red Sox / Liverpool. One that I don't know if you saw it or not. I would almost figure you did, but Pochettino and Klopp both built good sides.
Yeah.
But only one got the crucial backing.
I even commented on that story, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Jurgen Klopp, the fist-pumping genius who turned dreams into reality. Probably my favorite. But those are really the Liverpool ones. There's so much good stuff. What's going wrong at Barcelona? Spoiler everything. The football stuff is just great this week. Matt Brown at UNC is just, God, it hurts me so bad to say it. He is absolutely racking up at Carolina. A couple of good stories on that. They got a huge commitment in the last 24 hours for that program. Some good stuff on that. And then one that jumped out to me that I really enjoyed, Andy Staples, who is a college football writer, he did an article called The Menu, One Hungry Sports Writer's Journey Through America, where he reviewed about 300 different restaurants that he's eaten at while he's been on the road. Absolutely insane. He did stop at Skylight Inn in Aden, which is a big-time favorite of Wes Bradshaw. He had the Pit on here, which is in Raleigh, which, if you know the Pit used to be really good. And then Ed Mitchell left. Ed Mitchell was the pit master there. Ed Mitchell is an absolute artist when it comes to cooking a pig. He is a freaking nightmare to be a business partner with, apparently, from what I hear. And I do have some local knowledge of Ed Mitchell. Of course, he's a Wilson guy. I've worked with some people who are related to him and just talk about what a nightmare he is when he's not cooking a hog. So, but Andy Staples, check it out. There's stuff in most every state in there. Definitely check it out. Find you somewhere good to go get you by to eat. God, I went through kind of my go-to places, like city-wise, state-wise. Louisiana is absolutely loaded.
I bet.
Louisiana, Texas, you don't really need to worry about ever going anywhere else other than Louisiana and Texas. So, but yeah, those are my picks this week. A lot of good stuff. The Athletic is, once again, just knocking it out of the park. Baseball coverage is good as always. So, yeah, once again, worth my money every year.
The couple I will highlight real quick. One, in the soccer world. This was fascinating, and especially because we already talked about him slightly on the podcast. One Night in Swindon, how Kevin De Bruyne's spell at Chelsea unraveled. That was a fascinating read. Very long, but very, very, very good. And then here's one that I almost kind of thought you might mention, but I'll throw it out here as part of the Who Would You Rather Have series.
Oh, God, I had that one, but yeah.
1985 Dwight Gooden or 2000 Pedro Martinez. And of course, we here at the Foreign Affair podcast have made no bones about our deep and immersive love of Pedro. So,
2000 Pedro Martinez is the single greatest baseball player I think has ever walked the face of the earth.
He's really good. And again, like you look at some of the numbers, and yeah, like I have the article up in front of me, and yeah, like some of them, like he's a little higher than Dwight was in '85, but like again, this was like at still where the steroids era was still kind of going a little bit in the 2000, and like even if you go back to like '98. Like when he was still striking people out like crazy, but 2000 was
99 and 2000 Pedro just Jesus God. It's like these hulking human beings are hitting 50 bombs a year, and then this little tiny wisp of a man is just decimating them. I mean, a guy who, the only steroid Pedro ever maybe saw was like if he got poison ivy and took some prednisone. Pedro no tiene steroid. Pedro just to strike the people out. When I have a son, his name is going to be Pedro.
It's fine.
Pedro Klopp Bradshaw. What a name.
Oh, man.
I just had to find a female to agree to that, by the way. So that's my one prerequisite. We can date for as long as you want. Everything can be great. That last conversation before I get down and pull out a ring is what do you think of Pedro Klopp Bradshaw? She goes, ugh. I'm like, well, it was nice knowing you. Back to Bumble.
Yeah, but some of these numbers are just insane. In 29 games, he walks 32 people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, with all apologies to Greg Maddux, and even that they mentioned that in the article, that's absurd. For someone who made his living, because Maddux was like the premier control guy of the 90s and 2000s.
Maybe ever.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But Pedro was like this guy who threw gas, and he still walked 32 people.
Pedro had no qualm with going up towards somebody's grill too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pedro had no problem headhunting if he needed to.
He was a fighter.
You almost wonder out of those 32, how many of them were intentional? I'm just going to plunk this motherfucker. Pedro had no problem throwing at your fucking head too. That's all.
He had no problem throwing old men to the ground. He was great.
God, that's still that's one of the 10 best moments of my life. Even though we lost the damn series, just watching him chuck Don Zimmer's ass.
Oh man.
Screw all that. Oh, how'd he throw an old man? His ass was charging Pedro. All Pedro did was Ole his ass.
He did the humane thing by not punching him in the face.
Exactly. He just kind of sidestepped and was like, look, Don, lay on the ground. You'll not get hurt on the ground.
Still two of my favorite Red Sox moments that had nothing to do with an actual play are that and Veritek punching A-Rod in the face.
Veritek punching A-Rod in the face. I think that and Game 6 of the 75 World Series are the two greatest moments in Red Sox history. It's Fisk's home run in extra innings, and it's Veritek drilling A-Rod in the face. And only because after it was said and done, the symbolism of what that meant, that moment set the tone for the last near 20 years of Red Sox baseball.
Yeah.
It defined the generation.
It's like, we ain't fucking around anymore.
Look, man, we're not scared of you assholes. We don't care who you are. You come into our house, we're going to fuck you up. We're here for a fight.
So good. So good.
Got the goosebumps while we're talking about that.
Amazing. So that'll be our little thing there. With that, we'll head to the watch for Wes. What you watching?
I'm watching Community.
Oh, it's crazy. I didn't know.
I'm into season 6 of Community. God, now I'm getting upset because I'm in the home stretch of Community.
Yeah.
Season 6 has been different.
It's weird. It's different. It's very different.
We're kind of losing too many people here. I mean, now Shirley's gone, at least from what I've seen so far, other than just the drop-in of her in Atlanta, which was great, but still. I don't know what I really think about Frankie yet. Keith David is great. I can't really understand why he's there, but he's great. I'm missing Jonathan Banks.
Yeah, that was a
bummer. Reason why he's gone, but the last one I watched was when Chang did Mr. Miyagi. and Rafi was the director. Rafi Pimento, Pam. There's so many random names I know him by. His name's what? Jason something or another.
Matsukis, yeah.
Jason Markakis.
Close enough.
Jason Marquis, yeah, sure. Yeah, but I mean, I know him by like all these just over the top insane characters he's played, and here he is spraying Chang in the face with water while he's reading his lines.
Oh, it's so
Chang is so Changish.
It's such a good.
I've started using the word Chang in my daily life. It's like, like the other day I went to today I took Callie out to lunch and we went to get some Mexican food, and my bill was like $17 and dropped to 20 and said keep the Chang. And the guy kind of looked at me like, gracias, Jose. It's like, de nada. Like, Senor Chang. But yeah, so I'll just say things like keep the Chang or don't go Changing.
Don't go
Changing.
And I like to use Brodane things.
Oh, Brodane things is great. I told Callie earlier she breaded something. She kind of looked at me like, even though Callie apparently is all in on Community. She just doesn't like understand how to watch shows sequentially yet. She's like, I'm only in season 3. I'm like, how did you get through season 1? She's like, there's a season 1. I'm like, well, to get to season 3.
That's how it works.
She's 8. It's Cone County Public Schools. We're doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can here, I promise. I blame COVID.
I will see. I think one of the craziest things about season 6, and it starts at the end of season 5, with after the season finale. The last thing is that weird like sizzle reel for fake NBC shows, like Thought Jacker or Mind Freak or whatever. And then the one where the guy from The Office is a mummy, and there's Questlove and like some like singing competition or something. And it's just like it's the most blatant fuck you to NBC as they're making their way out the door, and it's great. And then like they keep up these weird, not super always connected, like they're connected to the story, but they're only like tangentially connected. So you've seen the episode where they have to do the crisis control on the dog getting the diploma.
Yes.
And so the tag at the end is the Asian kid that the dean has been texting with the entire episode. Yes. And it just ends with this voiceover of like, and this is the story of how I became the head of the Yakuza. What the hell?
Bring me olives. Even if I tell you I don't like olives, bring me olives. What does this mean, Jeffrey? I don't know what you're talking about. Dean. My favorite part was they need an openly gay dean. He's like, what I am goes so far beyond gay. It's like, what? It's like gay doesn't even begin to describe it. Yes. And then part of me's like, wait a minute, what? I understand him, but how deep is
Deep
Oh,
into
ding, 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 ding.
Oh, and I think real quick, and then I'll do mine. One thing I also love about Community just in general, and this goes back some seasons. One thing I really love about Community is that they do 2 episodes that are basically clip shows, but the clips are from episodes that we never of adventures we never saw. So like the whole point of a clip show is to be like, we'll save time. We've already done most of the work. Let's just edit in clips from old shows. And it's like, no, we're gonna do a clip show, but we have to actually go out and shoot all the clips because we never actually did anything, like going to a random like Western saloon type place.
Exactly.
And then like the second one they do is when they're with John Hodgman in the psychiatrist's office. And he gets to the point where, like, there is no Greendale.
So
Stop letting him make you remember stuff. Oh, it's such a great show. It's a really great show. And for my watch 4, I've been obviously listening to The Darkest Timeline. Haven't caught up very well, but I've also been watching some of the clips too. That I'll go back and watch the clips on YouTube. And man, watching Joel McHale get really mad at the way NBC treated them over the course of Community is like, it's so gratifying to know like how much he really hated it. Because like I kept up with Community. I knew how bad NBC was like screwing them over in the time that it was like happening and like the couple years after. And I'm like, but they're actors, whatever. And in like, no, Joel McHale really hates them. He's still really bitter about that whole thing. I'm like, yeah, be bitter, Joel McHale. You're so righteous. So yeah, that was my watch 4. I don't know. I'm just really glad to see like Joel McHale's still really bitter about this.
They're great. I've gotten so much from The Darkest Timeline. When I want to stop myself from laughing, I just go, dead babies, dead babies, dead babies, dead babies.
Yeah, I've only made it to the one where Jim Rash, the dean, and so I'm like halfway through that episode.
Man. So they are now dropping new episodes. So I think one came out today or yesterday. So.
Yeah, I know they had one with Keith David, and they've had one with Paget Brewster.
They've got them with basically everybody. Wait till you get to the table reads.
Oh, I'm so excited for that.
Where what's his name? Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
Fills in for Walton Goggins. And just absolutely, they do the read from the one where it's Pierce's funeral.
Yeah.
And Pedro Pascal just absolutely loses it when he has to talk about the strong semen.
The obligatory semen.
The obligatory semen. To you, I leave the obligatory semen. And also, this tiara.
Because you were my favorite.
He says, to Abed, I leave semen. You're just weird.
Oh, it's a great show. Great show. So yeah, that'll do it for that. And again, no So Elite Raw. Who cares? One day, hey, I'll do this very, very brief So Elite Raw story. So as you may know, there is a video game series based on WWE that's done by 2K Games. The most recent edition is WWE 2K20. A tweet came out from them that they were promoting today being July 1st, promoting that you can get WWE 2K sale or WWE 2K20 on sale for like 50% off or whatever, and get this deal by June 29th.
Oh, WWE. You gotta get that. You gotta get that one because since it came out, they released like half the roster. So
yeah,
it's a collector's item.
The only way we'll remember them.
These guys were here.
No, they're gone. They're the lucky ones. So that's gonna do it.
I will throw my one wrestling in there. Obviously, every week I listen to the world's worst podcast, Talking Shop. I believe July 14th, they're able to finally state what their next intentions are. They're still under their non-compete. So Yeah, just for the sake of Carl Anderson, let's hope they do something so he can stop having to do this goddamn podcast.
Carl.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely waiting to see what those guys do. So
amazing.
And I'm gonna tell you this: if they're at Wrestle Kingdom, I might find my way to Wrestle Kingdom. So
very amazing. So that will do it, I think, now for this edition of the Foreign Affair podcast. Big thanks, as always, to NGSC Sports at ngscsports.com. We never stop. You can find them on the Soch, as on the Twitters and stuff. You can also find us on Twitter as a collective. We are at AFA Pod, and Wes, you are?
I'm at Wes Bradshaw 21.
Don't worry, he's still occasionally tweeting about 90 Day Fiance, so go follow him for that.
Big Ed, my dog.
And I am at Edward Green. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, the Our Parent Show, the All New Sports Show, and email us at allnewsportshow@gmail.com. Thanks to our podcast providers, including Podbean.com, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, the TuneIn Radio app, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. So, with that, that'll do it for episode 321. But before we get out of here, Wes, anything else you'd like to add?
Ed, today we heard those sweetest of words around the baseball world. Not quite as hard-hitting as it usually is, but I guess pitchers and catchers reported.
For the majors.
Yeah. So, like I said, it doesn't carry the usual gravitas, but we're one step closer to baseball.
Maybe.
Sure. They did say that due to the way the division stuff has been set up this year, that the Cardinals have replaced the Yankees in the Field of Dreams game.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
They'll face the Chicago White Sox in Iowa. Field of Dreams. I'm really actually been stoked to see that, and I'm glad the Yankees aren't in it anymore. That's great. I can somewhat enjoy it. Nothing says dreams like Cardinals White Sox.
Absolutely. Also, there's been some news coming out about a couple people choosing to go ahead and opt out of the season. We'll see how many more choose to do that.
Zimmerman, your boy Ryan Zimmerman.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, Ryan. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure. I think he has another kid on the way.
So I think he just had it. Maybe he just had it, or it'll be here in the next few weeks or something.
Yes, my boy Ryan Zimmerman. The man who once partied with my father, Ryan Zimmerman. That's our connection. So yeah, that's coming back. Eventually, baseball will be back, and it'll be watched by literally tens of people. So there you go. That's gonna do it for this episode of the podcast. For McCall and Crime, Wes Bradshaw, I'm Edward Green. Thanks so much for joining us here this week. And again, big congratulations to Liverpool on their big win. Hopefully you were not listening to this right after they get trounced by City. So hopefully not. I mean to both. Hopefully you're not listening right after that match, and hopefully it doesn't happen. So with that, we bid you bon voyage. Stay safe, and please try to enjoy the football.
Wear a mask.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice of me? I'm trying to help. Even though I was thrown out of lids earlier today for not wearing a mask.
You were. Oh boy, lids.
Like I said, we went to the mall today because we were burning some time. And of course she ended up getting shit. But I was like,
You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on NGSCsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.